Welcome to the Echo Tips Podcast.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips Podcast. Jingle.
Welcome back, David, to my talking books. What can I do for you? Say, continue, if you want to keep going with what was in progress.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips Podcast. It's good to have you all with us this week, and I appreciate y'all's patience. This episode got out a little late during this week. It's kind of been crazy. I'll mention some of the reasons why near the end of the show. But we have a really exciting episode today, a beta program that I got into for a very specialized skill I've been looking for a while, and I've heard rumors of for quite a while. Now it has an open beta for up to 5,000 library patrons to enroll in. Now, this is going to be kind of a very specialized episode dealing with those that have what may be called print disabilities in the broadest of terms. So that could include maybe low vision, or you need large print, but you maybe can't get materials in large print. It could be total blindness. It could be dyslexia. It could be, I've known individuals in the past that have had strokes, or traumatic brain injuries, which maybe limited their ability to read print materials. And honestly, even other disabilities that you may not typically think of, maybe there's some sort of motor impairment or dexterity issues, or maybe just flipping the pages of a book is impractical, if not totally impossible for you. Well, in all of these circumstances, here in the United States, there is the Library of Congress, Federal Library of Congress, has a division called NLS, National Library Services. And this program for years put out, I don't have the history all in front of me here, but back in the day, I think of cassette tapes when I was much younger. Then a digital player that they have, and then they could distribute those cartridges via mail that you could plug into the digital player and get a nice high fidelity recording where you could skip back and forth around a book in a much more easier fashion than having to fast forward a cassette tape. And since then, they've also broadened out to apps that you can get on your smartphone, either an Apple device or an Android device, even Amazon's Fire tablet, and be able to download and play those books, those audio books. That's going to be primarily our focus today is audio books, although NLS also provides digital braille materials as well. But we're going to be focusing on the audio books. And for a long time, you had to have that app on your phone or tablet, and that was really the only option you had. But we were all basically waiting for the day that our A-Lady device could play our audiobooks from the Library of Congress. And it looks like we're getting one step closer to that, which is terribly exciting. I've heard for a long time, perhaps years, that this was in the works, maybe due to challenges with funding and the like. I just don't really know. And now it's in an open beta with allowing up to 5,000 people. So in our show notes, I will mention a way if you're interested in this program or you have a friend or family member that may qualify for this program and hasn't enrolled in it. I'll mention a link to where you could sign up to get into the beta program. And of course, once you're at the website, if you've not enrolled in the NLS program and are qualify for that, or somebody, like I said, does, you can look into that as well. Typically in our respective states, here in the state of Virginia, there's 2 libraries that operate as the coordinating libraries for the state. For the east half and the west half of the state, we have one in Richmond and one here in Roanoke, where our training center is. And so this is, like I said, going to be a very particular episode. We're going to look at this at a very high level. I can't really get into the nitty-gritty. We'll probably save that for a future episode, and if I can, even take you through the enrollment process or the initial setup process. We'll probably do that in a future episode. But this is kind of a first take unboxing. Wanted to share what I had experienced with y'all. Now, first off, for our new listeners who are wondering about this show, this, like I said, is a specialized episode where we deal with a very particular kind of niche. But generally, as a rule, you new listeners, we deal with all things Amazon Echo related, with our favorite A-Lady devices, from home automation to games and skills and reference tools and music, home security, applications for parents with little ones, caregivers and seniors, business environments, assisted living homes and nursing homes, all sorts of different applications for our Amazon Echoes. And we have a back catalog over 320 episodes you can go back and check out, and we're now in our 7th season. Now, we are a weekly podcast. We come out generally every week, somewhere around Wednesday or Thursday. We're a little late getting that to this week, and like I said, I'll mention some reasons why later. We're in our 7th season now, and so we welcome you new listeners, and it's good to have you returning listeners as well. And I know for some of you who are tuning in specifically because of the special nature of this topic, I think you guys are going to be very excited to learn about this as well. It's just terrible. You've been waiting for this for so long, so it's really kind of cool. All right, so before we delve into that content in any sort of detail, we're going to go to a brief message about our podcast, and then as always, we will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, and also made possible in part by a grant from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a nonprofit organization serving Central, Southwest, and Southside Virginia. Goodwill's mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and inspire communities. And we thank you for listening. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision.
Okay, all right, so we're back again, guys, and we're going to be delving into this skill, which is available on open beta to those that will enroll on the website. Like I mentioned, I'll mention a link to where you can find that enrollment form and sign up, and that would be super cool if you guys were able to try it out. Maybe give them your feedback about the skill. I do feel like there might be some rough edges that need to be worked on, some nomenclature issues and things like that. But overall, it's just been terribly exciting to play with this skill. We've been looking forward to this. Those of us with print impairments, I work with the blind and vision impaired as a trainer, an assistive technology trainer, day in and day out. And so it's been very exciting to really kind of, share with them my original impressions. And for me, myself, I've been enrolled in the National Library Services for, I don't know, let me think, maybe a long time, at least 25, 30 years. It's been a long time. And so I've seen these iterations as well. In fact, I still remember watching earnestly for the development of the digital player, which really got delayed several different times. That's a whole story. But anyway, now this is amazing. The ability to have a little Amazon Echo for practically nothing that you can get on sale this time of season, and then be able to just walk over and have it play a wealth of audiobooks for you, and potentially here in the future even magazines and other things as well. And you may ask, well, what do you mean, Dave? You'll find out. All right, so let's delve right into this material. So the phrase is My Talking Books. That's the title of the skill. I've already set this up and connected it with my personal account with the library. And like I said, in a future episode, if possible, I will deregister this app basically and reset it up and take you guys, hopefully if I can, without getting kicked out of the beta program, set it up again and show you guys how to do that in a future episode. And we may have a bigger omnibus episode as well in the future, because there are just so many settings in this thing. It would blow your mind. Okay, so let's just delve in. And if you have an echo in hearing distance of me, you may want to shut its ears off, because I am going to be using the A-Lady name in just a second. So give you guys a little bit for that. Okay, all right, hopefully. I think these things can hear you all the way across the house. So, okay. Let's delve in. Alexa, open My Talking Books. Jingle.
Welcome back, David, to My Talking Books. What can I do for you? Say, continue, if you want to keep going with what was in progress.
Continue.
Playing now.
Capital of 25 million.
So there you
And
go. I'm
incidentally,
listening to
saved
an
his life.
audiobook.
Proposed counter-operation. It would be greatly in the interests of this country and of
Alexa.
the other
Exit.
nations of the North Atlantic Treaty
let's try
Organization
again.
that
Alexa,
this powerful
stop.
What now?
Search.
It sounds like you are trying to search.
Uh-huh.
Please say, read books, to do your search. Or say, user guide, to learn more. Say, resume reading, or options for more commands.
Read books.
Books. First 10 of 122,485.
Okay.
1. The Chrono Slasher,
I don't think
by
this is
Daniel
what I want.
Coonley. Audio not yet available.
Alexa, title 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Books with title 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 1. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, by Lisa R. Church, Jules Verne. 2. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, by Jules Verne. 3. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, by Jules Verne. Anthony Bonner. Say a number or words from the title or say options for more commands.
Number 2.
You selected 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by
Okay.
Jules Verne. Narrator, Hal Tenney. 15 hours 42 minutes. Say, play, or say options for more commands.
Options.
Would you like help with finding a book, help reading a book, or help with something else? Say help, followed by your choice.
Annotation. See if that works.
Annotation, written in 1869, this science fiction novel is almost prophetic in its account of the first submarine, Nautilus, whose skipper, Captain Nemo, is a mad genius. Say, play, or say options for more commands.
Exit. Did that work? I don't know. Alexa, quit.
This is my talking books.
It's
The last
just like-
audio I played for you has already finished. Anything else
Alexa?
I can help you?
Exit. Maybe? Huh? No? Alexa, quit. Alexa, stop.
This is my talking books. The last audio I played for you has already finished. Anything else I can help you with?
Exit. Anyway. Okay, so let me just mute that so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, guys, so I kind of threw you in the deep end there. We played a book right from the beginning. I think it was one of the James Bond novels I just had queued up and light up. Now, usually if I say restart book at the beginning instead of continue, it will say, it'll restate the book title. I didn't do that when I just said continue. It just played. And then you saw me do a little bit of a search for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the ability to select a book. It generally lists off like 10 books at a time if you're searching by author or by title. And then the ability that you can narrow down, say, okay, take book 2, and then you drill into it, and then you can say annotation, and then it gives you the annotation or little like back cover description of what the book was about. Okay, so first impressions of this skill, even though I just gave you just a little tentative taste of what it's all about. 1, oh God, I've been waiting for this for so long. The ability for us to play these books, stream them, especially for my students, just a simple, they don't have to go through a download, they don't have to log into a Windows computer, they don't have to use an iPhone or an Android phone and do all the navigation and then type with the on-screen keyboard, the ability to just verbally tell it what you want and it play it. Oh my goodness, it is glorious. And so I really hope they get the funding they need to continue this, to develop, to roll it out as soon as possible. As far as critiques go, and I'll try and give these back to the developers and the community, since this is a beta, and that's why you have betas roll out, is you're trying to critique them. I will give us some critiques. One, you probably noticed right at the end, it isn't always obvious that you have exited or have you successfully exited. It kind of like stays stuck in the app sometimes, or the skill, I should say. Kind of reminiscent of, well, maybe not as bad, but reminiscent of the AI beta we had last year, where you would say, let's chat, and you would go into it, and then if you didn't say exit, you stayed in it. Even if you went and made yourself a sandwich and had lunch and came back 2 hours later, even though it had been sitting there idle doing nothing, it technically, as soon as you launched her, you were still in that skill. Now, it's not quite that bad, I don't think. But I do love the jingle when it starts up, and it usually has a corresponding jingle when it exits. I don't know why I didn't really want to exit today, but I have experienced that at times. It doesn't really want to leave. And I think that's something that could be improved upon. That should be like a full pull the handbrake, slam on the brakes. If I say the word exit or quit, I mean, maybe do a one-time confirmation. Are you sure you want to leave or not? But then just leave. And it's not like it damages anything. I mean, if I come back, it remembers where I was in the book, so I don't see how we lose anything. You don't really even need the confirmation, probably, because if you come back, you're right in the book where you were left off before. So I think that is super cool. Now, up until now, I have not done anything really advanced. I've searched for books. I've gone through the catalog a little bit. I've searched by title. I did find something very cool. I did a search through recent books. That's another thing for those of you who are familiar with NLS or the BARD system, or BARD Mobile or BARD Express, which BARD Express is the program you install on a Windows computer. BARD Mobile is the one you would have on an Android or iPhone. Generally, in those environments, you have these different categories like a wish list. We'll talk about that later. You have the ability to search by genre and different things like that. Is it science fiction? Is it historical fiction? Is it nonfiction? Like I had some students that really love to read autobiographies or just general biographies. It looks like I haven't done everything, but it looks like you can do all of that. And the one cool thing I had is I went into, the two other categories that are often in those apps are recently added. So, what has been added in the last week by the library, and then most popular. Now, you can enter into those, and one of the cool things I did, which I don't think I could, there's probably another way I could do with the other apps, but it gave me most recent, and then I said, search by genre science fiction, and it filtered the recent list by whatever was categorized as science fiction. Now, that I thought was pretty cool. The ability to make that kind of filtering option. And I don't know if I can recall you ever doing that in any of the other apps, but the responsiveness of the database is fantastic. Now, whoever they chose to do this, because NLS historically, their servers feel like they're running out of a closet on a system from 1998. But this database, whoever created it, is very responsive. There's no lag time. Even the streaming of the audio seems to be fairly snappy, considering there's got to be an enormous amount of audio content up there. I mean, it's got to be a lot of stuff, yet it pulls it and plays it pretty daggone fast. Now, this is the beta, so there's certain things that don't seem like they've fully been flushed out, or that they're probably using a copy of their whole library system. They're not streaming right from the main core system yet. And the reason I get that impression is, one, there's no magazines at present, which in the typical system there is magazines, coming out. Those are regular, magazines are always rolling out every month. Don't have access to those. When I go under recent books, even though it looks like the database is fairly recent, none of those books, most of those books are not available. So if you go and say, hey, I want to look at book number 2, it comes up, but it says cannot be played or something like that. So that's probably because there may be they're flushing out the reality of the database to make sure that it can stay live and be refreshed by their automated system, but they aren't going through the whole expense of transcoding stuff on the fly from one system to the other because I'm sure it has to be changed to an audio format that the A-Lady can play and stream more effectively and more cost effectively and all of that. So they aren't doing that yet. So I don't know if that means the library through this beta service is just a fixed copy of what it was 6 months ago or a year ago, or maybe they're periodically going in and dumping in the new material every month or something like that to kind of catch it up. I'm really not too sure, and I haven't been playing with it long enough to kind of get a good vibe for that. But let's recircle back. So in a future episode, I think we probably need to cover some of the more complex options. So, obviously search by title, by author, genre searches, things like that. There is apparently on the website, let me look here. You can do some management techniques with wish list capabilities. So for those of you that have never used the wish list before, but you are an NLS patron, that's where basically you, it's actually a horrible name, wish list. I wish they'd change it. It's more like a bookmarked or a future reading list, it's a book I want to come back and download in the future, but I don't want to read right now, but I add it to the wish list. And that's like a cloud bookmarking. So if I do that on my iPhone, then go over to my Android tablet, it will show up there. If I go over to my computer, it'll show up there. And now on the A-Lady, you have access to that same wish list. So I think that could be really helpful because maybe you want to use a keyboard to run searches and find very specific books, but then you don't necessarily want to play it back on that device or on your iPhone. You can just walk over to your A-Lady and say, hey, open it up, open the wish list, and off to the races you are with very specific books that maybe you had to type in. Like, I think a good example may be as an author that is maybe difficult, their name is difficult to pronounce, or the A-Lady can't interpret it, and you'd have to manually type it in. So that might be a good case scenario with the wish list. You have the bookshelf feature, which I don't know how that really, because you're really streaming live. Bookmarks, that's interesting. I haven't played with that feature yet, but obviously, historically, you could place a bookmark somewhere and then revisit a book. I'm recently reading a book about Social Security disability, SSDI and SSI, and employment, and about starting your own business. I've been reading a book about that, so I've been setting little bookmarks all along the way as I do that, so I can go back and revisit different topics and say, okay, what was the name of that that federal act or that federal provision? I can go back and bookmark that. Various preferences it looks like you can configure. I haven't got into that yet either. Reading speed, that would be super cool, and that's kind of impressive. That's not easily found on most A-Lady devices. I mean, you can change her voice, which is a text-to-speech speed, but I can't think of any other audio player system online, even podcast, where you can actually adjust the speed. That's a pretty modest to advanced technical feat. Obviously, I've seen it on other apps on iPhones and Android phones, but the ability to do it in a streaming fashion, that's genuinely kind of interesting. So that might be something to try. Jumping in time segments, I have fast forwarded and rewound, but I haven't been very effective at it. I can just say next chapter or next or previous, and it generally jumps by whatever the default thing is, which is usually like chapter segments or something like that. That's good because when you start a book off, you're going to hear like half an hour worth of content about what the book is about and the author's foreword and all of that, and just want to get to chapter 1 and start reading the book. Well, that's great. You can just say next, 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 and then finally you're at chapter 1. So, but it looks like there is some more advanced ways to jump around by maybe minute increments and stuff too, which is typical of the actual app. Let's see, book descriptions, that might be like the annotation. I found using the word annotation is something that most people would not use. Maybe I should try the phrase book description or just description. Maybe that would work as well. That would probably be a lot easier for people than saying annotation. It's kind of weird, though. I think when you enter into the book and you say number 2, I think it should automatically give you the annotation. Why would you not just somebody's already burrowed into it. Why would you give them the exact same parroted material? Because it pretty much does. It just reads the title. It sounded like it read whoever the present narrator was of that book, and then the author of the book. And that wasn't clearly delineated, or maybe I wasn't paying close attention. But it should just say the annotation. Once you've actually selected the book, just read the annotation, for crying out loud. I think that would probably be a better interface. And when I asked for options, did you notice the options it gave me? I mean, admittedly, it was interesting about how to do help queries and stuff like that. But you think it would have said, say the word annotation or description to get the annotation or description, or other books by this author, or other books in this series, if it was part of a series. It didn't give me anything like that. It was just kind of a generic, you can say help and then how to search, I don't think that's a very useful way of doing it. All right, let's continue here. Streaming history. I haven't played with that yet, but that's interesting. That's pretty advanced. All right, let's see what else we got in here. I'm just kind of perusing their webpage about this. So if you Google NLS My Talking Books, or my NLS My Talking Books ALEXA, you'll probably pop up right at the top of your search results in Google. This will pop up. There was something else here I wanted to see. Streaming history, an introduction. Let me see here. There's a user guide. We'll probably dig into that if we do an omnibus episode. I'll try and cram a whole bunch of stuff in for you guys. Oh, okay. Here's a whole list of voice commands. We definitely could go through that. There was one thing I could have swore I saw on this page, which was the ability to adjust volume by book, which I think is very interesting. So when we were listening to the James Bond book, I've hopefully in the post-production editing of this kind of smoothed it all out so everything sounds pretty good to you guys. But it was very clear to me when I was doing tests on this to make sure it was microphoned right for you guys and piped into the mixer right, that the audio of the A-Lady voice was about 2 decibels lower than the James Bond author reading the book. So that's kind of curious. It wasn't horribly painful to me, but it's interesting that I think I read somewhere on this page that there is the ability to maybe adjust volume individually by book, which may not be the worst idea if the recordings kind of come out in a different way, or the author is the way they project or something. I haven't read anything here about changing tone yet either, although we read something about changing speed. But definitely very fascinating. I'm just terribly excited that we have this, guys, and that we can play with a beta of this. It's just really, really awesome. But anywho, so I think that gives us a kind of nice little taste for what this is. My Talking Books skill. Now, I'm not going to do the setup here, but basically I've been a patron, like I said, for 25 years in the system. My phone number was on file, and that was one of the things. Once you went to the website and you went through the registration process, I never received an email saying I was accepted. Maybe it got thrown in the spam folder. I don't know. But like a week later, I said, well, what the heck? Let me just try and open the skill. And I opened the skill, and it asked for something about, I think, my phone number that was registered on file. That's the validation process I believe it went through. And we'll test that in a future episode. And then it took me through some steps and sent a security code and all this kind of stuff. And before you know it, Bob's your uncle, I'm in. And so it was super, I was pretty impressed by the process. And it was a somewhat thoughtful process. I think the trick is going to be is everybody needs to make sure they have a phone number that's up to date on file. And so I think that's going to be pivotal. Okay, well, we're going to wrap things up because I'm just going to go on. I'm going to be totally enamored with this thing. And you guys probably, if you're in a position to register, go check our show notes. You'll find a link to the website. It's not terribly obvious on this page where because if you start at the top of the page, honest to God, I went and looked at it. I thought maybe it had already publicly rolled out. But further down the page that I'm going to link in the show notes is a section, a heading. Yes, it's a heading. It says tips for easy sign up, I think. Oh, no, it just says it's easy to sign up. And then right under that heading is a paragraph and a link to where you can fill out a form to register to be in the beta test. So I'll put that in our show notes. And that will wrap things up. this week. It was great having you guys with us. And like I said, we'll be trying to delve into this more in the future. Now, I do apologize that this episode came out a little later. Our program, the New Vision program, has been sponsoring and Goodwill Industries of the Valleys and supporting this podcast, along with incredible support from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired over the years, and other organizations that helped start this in the early days, what used to be called the Roanoke Foundation. And a big thanks to all those organizations over the years that have supported this podcast. Now, our program at work at the Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, is the New Vision program where I work, is actually coming to a close here at the end of the year. We'll be shuttering the doors and shutting that program down. But the podcast is planned to continue. It will become a personal property of mine of sorts, and I will continue the show. And so stay tuned. I'll mention some ways that you can help support me in the future, or buy me a coffee or do something to support the show. But I do really appreciate y'all's listenership. Because of that, some of our contact information is changing. You're going to be able to email me at ecotipspodcast@cert, CERT, doctor.com. But of course, if you have appreciated this show and all the things that Goodwill has done supporting this program over these years and this podcast, by all means, feel free to let them know that on Goodwill, on Twitter or Facebook, now known as X, at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys. You can just mention and say, I really appreciate the Echo Tips podcast and letting Dave do this show. And you can even share that info at a typical email address we've used over the years, info@goodwillvalleys.com. But like I said, we're planning on continuing the show on into the 2025 year. We're really excited to look forward to some of these AI things that are hopefully going to roll out in 2025. We're expecting them this fall, but it didn't happen. But hopefully that means it's going to be even better than we imagined, right? They're really going to make it knock our socks off. Well, until next time, it's time again for you to turn the ears on your Echo back on, start practicing some of the many, many things that you've learned. I'm David Ward for the New Vision program, and as always, we do thank you for listening.
This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, and also made possible in part by a grant from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a non-profit organization serving Central, Southwest, and Southside Virginia. Goodwill's mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and inspire communities. And we thank you for listening. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision.